And good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast on the Class. Breakfast on the Class today is dedicated, and this entire week, by the Torah Center Goldor, the Aronau family, loving memory of Nishmat, Yosef Mordechai Israel, Hayim Vehana. As well, Breakfast on the Class dedicated by Brian Matityahu Yaakov Grenadier, in honor of his parents Rivka and Shlomo. Thank you both for inspiring me to continue learning Torah each morning despite the busy life I have in law school. Listening all the way from Stanford in California, a big thank you to Rabbi Farhi for making Torah even more accessible across the globe. Fadal, no problem. Breakfast on the Class dedicated for the speedy and complete refuah shlema of Nisim Ben Salcha. Please make berachot for his zechut and refuah. The year of Breakfast on the Class is dedicated loving memory of Nishmat Ruth Orfali Bat Adela Aleh Shalom, sponsored by our family. For speedy refuah shlema for Eliyahu Shlomo Mazal Fortuné, for Hayim Rafael Ben Frida, and for continued health of Chana Bat Simafega. Let's begin. Oh, we also want to wish Mabruka Mazal Tov to the Gedamian family and the Kier family on the Brit Milah yesterday of their son. V'ezat Hashem, you should see him grow from strength to glorious strength. Okay, let's begin. Where is he? He's still upstairs. Okay, let's begin. So, there's a beautiful idea that I really want to talk about today with you with regards to the world of Ilui Nishama, of raising a person's soul. Please only answer Amen if you're listening to this live. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol nihya b'aro. Says the pasuk in Kohelet, the book Nefilautecha Asicha brings down. The pasuk says in Kohelet, remember your Creator in the day of your youth, ad asher lo yavo yimei hara, until the difficult days have not yet come. V'yigiu shanim asher tomar, and years will come when you'll say, en li bahem chefetz, I don't want them anymore. The Gemara says about this idea, what are these days? Asher en li bahem chefetz. Who has days in their life that they don't want? Look, I'm not talking about Mondays. I'm just saying, who has days in their life that they don't want, that they'd rather not have? You don't want every day of your life. As many days as God will give me, fadal, I'd rather more. Okay? However, the Gemara says, days asher en li bahem chefetz is the days of Mashiach. Or perhaps understood differently, the world of Olam Haba. In that world where a person can't do mitzvot, or a person's mitzvot are a reflection that do not carry with them struggle or yetzer hara, in the time of Mashiach, if the Mashiach arrives, while a person's still alive in this world, there's no yetzer hara, so you're going to be doing mitzvot, but it's not going to be difficult. There won't be anything pulling you to go any other way. That sounds like a utopian place, correct? No yetzer hara whatsoever, no evil inclination. All I want to do is mitzvot. All I want to do is Torah. But there's also no challenge. So God says those are days asher en li bahem chefetz. Those are not days that I want. I don't have desire in those days. I'm not excited, so to speak, by those days. That's what God says. Now, of course, we're waiting for Mashiach, the time of the perfection of the world. Now, what we mean when we say Elam B'Hem Chefetz is that the actions that happen in those times, the mitzvot, the zechuyot that you have in those times, are not the same thing. We also want to say, Mazal Tov, Siman Tov, oh Mazal Tov, Yelano. We want to welcome the latest grandpa into the room, although he's already a grandpa once before, with the birth of a new granddaughter. Congratulations to Yaakov and Rita, and to our dear Rabbi Ruvain and Rebbetzin Nalini on the birth of a baby girl, and congratulations to the Bragamovs and Waba families. Mazal Tov. Okay. Eli Bahem Chefetz. So these are days that we have no interest in. My friends, why is the time of Mashiach a time where God doesn't enjoy our actions? Because they're not hard. Because there's no challenge. Therefore there's no reward for those actions. You're in a time of enjoyment, but you're not working. You're not earning at that point. Now you're spending your earnings. So Mashiach, Olam Haba, is a time where we're spending our earnings, not earning more. At that point, you can't earn anything else. We're not going to deal with the question as to what is the purpose of the time of Mashiach then. Why don't we just jump straight to Olam Haba? We're not going to deal with that question today. A little bit of a deep conversation based on Ramchal in his Sefer Derech Hashem. However, I want to quote you the Gemara on this pasuk. Mar Ukva Amar. Mar Ukva used to teach, Zavdai klili ve'or harechikta, right? A small amount of tzedakah kala, meaning a small meal, snacks, lederech aruka, for a very long journey. Kam, he got up, bazbeze lepalge mimamoneh. He spent half of his money. Remarkable Gemara in Ketubot. Mar Ukva said, I have a very long journey. I need to prepare food for that journey. By the way, just a public service announcement. Only yesterday, calling out some people here. Only yesterday, or 2 days ago, on Air France, a person asked for their kosher meal. The stewardess said, we don't have a kosher meal for him. There were 8 people. A woman, a family, maybe some friends, I don't know. Okay? 2 minutes later, they're complaining, what's going on? You know, we ordered the meals. Comes the meals, and it says on top of the thing, KSML. That's the airline shorthand for a kosher meal, by the way. KSML. That's how it appears in the booking. So on top of the meal, KSML. But the woman's looking, there's no stamp, there's no kashrut. Inside, she doesn't recognize any of the products. She calls over the lady, she says, did you just give me a regular meal and write KSML on it? The woman's like, no, this is a kosher meal. That's the phraseology we use. She calls over the manager. The manager looks into it, comes back and says, I'm sorry, yes. She just wrote with marker on your meal, KSML. Ya'ani. Ya'ani. My friends, I have to say, when it comes to kashrut, it's very important for people to recognize that while we have this idea of hashgacha and kashrut, ultimately, whether you're going to eat kosher or not, is going to depend on who? On you, on yourself. Mar Ukva was saying, I have a very long journey. My soul's going to be in Shamayim for a very long time. I have to be eating reward for a very long time. I need to prepare more food for my journey. So he got up and he gave half of his money to tzedakah. First question I thought of, as soon as I read this Gemara is, 1 second, is that allowed?
No.
Go ahead, Doc, why not? Ha-mibazbez, someone who's mibazbez, who's spending, al yibazbez yoter mechomesh, should not spend more than a fifth. How did Mar Ukva spend half his money? You guys got the question? Come on, Gemara heads. Give me 2 answers.
He was really buying something.
Even still, it says you're not allowed. Everyone who spends tzedakah is buying something. 2 answers. Answer number 1. If you are Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, fadal, spend half of your money. The numbers that were given by Chazal were given for your average person, that if you spend more than 20% of your earnings, you might become poor. And the Gemara says, Rashi explains, you might become a burden on the community. You yourself are going to have to collect tzedakah. But a person who has ridiculous wealth that you could never spend, Elon Musk can never spend the money he has if he lives 10 lifetimes. How much is it now? $384 billion. Rabbi Abrahamov is keeping track because he's number 2. He's second in the line. He's chasing 384. He's like 380 now. 380, roughly, plus minus. my friends. So maybe answer number one, maybe Mar Ukva was wildly wealthy. Good answer? That's why he's allowed. Second answer. When does a person start thinking, Uli, Olam Haba, very long journey. I don't have enough echoes for the journey. I don't want to wind up with a sketch KSML on my journey. When does a person start thinking about legacy? About Olam Haba? Close to his death. Mar Ukva, as an old man, was allowed to spend more than a chomesh. You know why? Because he had enough money to ride him out until the sunset. Person who has a family, children, weddings, bar mitzvahs, who knows where expenses are going to crop up. Person who's already very old, at that stage of your life, maybe Chazal allowed a person to spend more than chomesh because there's no worry about becoming a burden on the community. Second answer. You like it? For my Gemara heads with me. My friends, Mar Ukva is telling us a fantastic message. He said, listen, I need to prepare. I need to take care. Like the pasuk says in Kohelet, Zechoret borecha, remember your Creator. Bimei bachrutecha, in the days of your youth. Before you go, understand you're getting to days where you can no longer earn. When you see that I can't do this job every day anymore in the office soon, I can't put in the work, the physical work as a contractor that I am right now. I can't do this. What do you start to do? You start to figure out how to make investments that will carry you when you can't do the work anymore. Says Mar Ukva, these investments need to carry me a fairly long way. Maybe I need more zechut. There was a man, a rabbi from Israel, who traveled to America because he was building a yeshiva in Eretz Israel. I know a lot of people, they love to do big actions of tzedakah, legacy level actions of tzedakah. And every once in a while, I have an opportunity that comes my way, and sometimes I get to be a mishadech. You know how it works in spiritual matters. It's just like in physical matters. If there's a company that wants to, purchase a huge amount of real estate for a pension fund, and I figure out which building for them to buy, and I introduce the Canada 51st State Pension Fund, right, to Mr. Whatever for this real estate deal. How much? I make a percentage. Finder's fee. I did the shidduch. If there's a beautiful yeshiva in Israel that needs to build a building because they're busting at the seams, and I find a guy who wants to do something in memory of his father, and I bring them together, and he sponsors the yeshiva, he makes tremendous zechut. But you know who else gets a piece? This guy. Finder's fee. I made this shidduch, I made this zivuk, and Baruch Hashem, I've been blessed. Sometimes people will come and tell me, Rabbi, if you know of a yeshiva, if you know of a mikvah, if you know of a synagogue, if you know a place that needs a Sefer Torah, I want to donate one. Find me one, exactly, Bezra. Find me an opportunity like this, I want to give it. So sometimes when I have an opportunity like that, I'm able to pair something unbelievable. And it's a beautiful, Invei HaGefen. There's a rabbi who comes from Israel, he's got a building, he needs to put a name on it, right? Comes to collect. Anyway, he goes to this guy, goes to that guy, someone tells him this guy's a wealthy guy, why don't you go speak to him? He's kind, he's partial to Torah, please close the door, Dachilak. Right? He says, what's it called? He says, okay, I'm going to go to this guy now. He visits everybody, they give him some money, goes to the guy. Walks in, big beautiful office, the guy tells him, listen, I have this yeshiva, we're in a very big opportunistic moment. I don't usually come to America, I'm not one of these guys that say collecting every 5 minutes. I came, this is my first time coming, or second time coming. I'm never here usually, but I have an opportunity to build a building. We're busting at the seams. The building next door is available. By the way, building next door is available. If anyone would like to put their name on the building next door, so we can punch through the wall, so we can have more room for this Bet Knesset. If anyone saw how many people sitting and learning in the lobby today, where we have no room in the Bet Midrash, there's no room to put anything. Yishtabach Shemo, what a beautiful thing, the problem we're having. If anyone would like to purchase a building next door, let us know. Anyway, sorry?
That's the Odom.
No, that's Oleg Cassini's Pilegesh Begiva. Well, not Begiva, just Pilegesh. Okay, Isma Rabotai. Hopefully not big giva. Let's just understand. The guy comes in, he says, I have opportunity any way you guys want. The guy said, listen, everyone comes to my office. I'm a little bit nervous. My friend's story will blow your mind. I'm a little bit nervous, he says. But I don't know how to tell this to you. He says, but I finished my budget already. I gave out all the tzedakah that I was planning on giving this year. You came a little too late. I gave all the money I had set aside for yeshivot. I gave all the money I had set aside for mikvahot. I gave it all out. I got nothing left for this year. I'm done. Guy walks out without a penny. Okay. You should never turn someone down completely, even if you can't give a lot. Give something small. People think, it's not kabod. Tell them I don't have anything, but I don't want you to have nothing. So I'm going to give you something. Okay? Anyway, what happens? Walks out with nothing. A while goes by, and the rabbi now, the yeshiva is flourishing. It's time for him to build something else. He needs to come back again. 5 years later. Comes back 5 years later. He's going from place to place. Anyway, they ask him, how come you didn't go to this guy? You skipped Mr. Rich Man, Why didn't you go to him? He says, I'll tell you the truth. I would have went to him. He said, but I went last time, and I didn't get anything. So because I didn't get anything, he says, I just felt, what am I going to go for? To go again? They told him, no. Trust. Go again. Walks in. He really has no confidence. He walks in, he says, hi, I'm here from Israel, have the yeshiva, we did our first building project, now we need another building project, Baruch Hashem, we're helping boys, Sephardic boys. The guy says, absolutely, I'd love to help you. Writes him out, the biggest check he got the whole trip. He takes the check, the rabbi's walking out, stops before he leaves, turns around, he says, I hope you don't mind, and I hope it's not out of line. He said, could you explain, last time I came, you told me you gave already, you had no feeling for it, you didn't give me anything. Now, this time I came, I barely opened my mouth, and you gave me such a beautiful gift. Can I ask what motivated you to give so generously this time, when last time you didn't give anything? The man says, Rabbi, it's a fair question. Let me give you the answer, he says. He says, my business, one of the biggest things I do in my business, he says, is I sell rugs. So I had to go on a business trip. I had to go to India. I went to India to visit the factories. While I'm in India, I'm driving from one place to the other. I don't know if you've ever been to India. The roads it's like a video game. Remember the Frogger? You got to cross the street. Crossing the street in India in certain places like Frogger. You either run over by a train, a scooter, a car, a cow. It's the place. It's just it's wild. Okay, certain places it's just like you can't believe what you're looking at. He says I got into a terrible car crash, into an accident. They took me to the hospital. I completely lost consciousness. I'm in the hospital. I'm in a coma. I wake up in this hospital. I have no idea who I am because I left my stuff in my hotel room. I don't have a passport. I don't have a credit card. I don't have anything with me. They had no idea who I was. And I had no idea who I was either. And the family had no idea where to even look for me. So for 1 year, he says, I'm in India without a clue, recovering from this coma. I'm completely unconscious. And then finally when I become conscious, till I figured out who I was, till the police pieced together, etc., etc., etc. He says, I come back home after 1 year. My family thought that I died. They sat Shiva. They finished the whole year. Not only did they finish the whole year, they took all of my assets and they divided it amongst all my children. Everyone, a year later, they already bought a house, had to open the new business. I'm dead. Well, I got there, you can imagine what the reunion was like. Everybody's hugging me, kissing me. My wife can't believe it. Baruch Hashem, she didn't get remarried.
You're back more 10.
Huh?
You're back more 10. They 10 of you bet more.
Oh, okay, fine. I thought you were telling me who she got married to. All right. You're like, I know the story. The guy's name was Yebamot. Okay. Anyway, the kids, they're hugging. He's in a little bit of a weird situation now. Right? The kids have the money. He's going to take all the money back. They have responsibilities. It's very awkward. The whole thing's weird. Anyway, he goes to shul. And he sees in shul there's a sign. Are you ready for this, my friends? In the shul there's a sign. And the sign says, for $200, we'll have someone say Kaddish for a month. So you don't miss Kaddish for a month for the person. For $500, they'll have Kaddish and learning for the month. For $1,000, they'll do Kaddish for the year. For $10,000, they'll do Kaddish for the year and have the learning for the year. Yani, they'll put you on the Torah Center wall, right? They give you a plaque, beautiful for the Ilui Nishmat. You know, Kaddish, learning, mitzvot, everything for the Ilui Nishama, for the sake of the Nishama. Anyway, had that walks over to the Gabai, to the Haron of their shul, and he says, tell me, just curious, I left a lot of money for my kids, they all inherited tremendous. He said, which one did they buy for me? And he says, I'm just going to rip off the Band-Aid. He says, they chipped in together and they bought the $200 one. The guy's like, what? I left them fortunes of money. And that's what they did for my neshama. After everything they got, that's what they gave. He says, I went back to each one of the children and I said, all the money that you got from me, I want you to keep. I don't want you to have to give me anything back. I don't want you to. He says, all I'm asking for is a small amount back, let's say like Maaseh, 10% of the thing that you got, so that I could start up again. And I decided, he says to the rabbi, that from now on, I wasn't going to let any one of my children decide what kind of Ilui Neshama I was going to have. They bought me the cardboard plaque. Forget the silver, gold, platinum. No one's deciding that for me anymore. I'm deciding that for me. I decided if I make the money that I used to have, I'm going to give all of that money to tzedakah. Them I already took care of. Ya'ini. He says Hashem smiled on my efforts because he knew that the money I was making now was going to be primarily for tzedakah. I became wealthier than I was before. But now he says, I'm not putting anything aside in a 401k. There's nothing that's going into trust funds. Everything's going into my ultimate heavenly trust fund. And I give tzedakah, and I visit orphans and widows, and I make weddings, and I do everything for everybody because you know what? When I left it all behind, they didn't do anything for me. What an unbelievable maaseh. But my friends, the Chachamim tell us, Lo ha-midrash ha'ikar ela ha-maaseh. Learning is not the main thing. The main thing is what you do. But colloquially, colloquially that phrase is used to say, Lo ha-midrash ha'ikar, the learning is not the main thing. Tell me, what was the story the rabbi said in the drasha today? Right? The reason why the Torah is half filled with stories is because it takes a story like that to touch your heart. To realize, I'm sure the kids were not bad kids. They probably were good kids, but they probably told themselves, I had this windfall, but I already gave tzedakah. Maybe they learned that from their father, who in his first iteration said, I already gave enough. But my friends, what Mar Zutra was telling us, I have a long journey. I need to put aside more for my journey. What the Pasuk is telling us, V'ikchuli Terumah, speak to the Jewish people. Take for me a Terumah. Take for me some tzedakah. That idea, my friends, communicates this obligation that a person has to take care of themselves. There are some rabbis that when they would study Mishnayot, they would say, Li'ilui nishmati. They said, Li'ilui nishmatcha, were you dead? He said, no, in the end, they're going to say it for me. They're going to split up Mishnayot. I'd rather not, who knows if everyone finishes the Mishnayot. I'll finish my own Mishnayot. Leilui nishmati. My friends, no one's going to learn Torah for you. No one's going to say Kaddish for you. Of course they will. Of course they will say Kaddish. Of course they will. But you know what? No one can learn more Torah for you than you. You're going to pay someone else to study Torah? You study Torah. And then give them tzedakah. You have an opportunity, my friends, to take kashrut into your own hands. Don't rely that someone else did the checking. KSML. I remember once, I was at a wedding, I see this rabbi and the rabbi is eating. So I went up to the rabbi and I said to him, Rabbi, do you know if the ekel's kosher? He says, I'm sure it's kosher. I said, why? He said, because you're here. I was like, you're also here. And only one of us has a plate. And that's you. And I told him the following story. When Rav Beryl Wine became in charge of the OU, he went to a wedding. Right after he became the president of the OU. OU is a hashgacha. He goes to the wedding. The wedding is under the hashgacha of the OU. Anyway, he sees the Mashiach, and the Mashiach is making a plate. The Rav Beryl Wine walks up to him, doesn't say that he's the president of the company that he's working for. He walks up to the Mashiach, and he says to him, I see you eating. Do you know if the food is kosher? So the Mashiach says, yeah, it's under the OU. He says, moron, you're the OU. It's kosher under the OU because you're in the kitchen. Not because you're out here. You need to be watching inside. You're the OU. My friends, in your life, you're the OU. You're the one who checks if something's kosher. He doesn't rely. Oh, I don't know. I think their Syrian family made the cookies. Who cares if they're a Syrian family that made the cookies? Do you know if that person, if their dishes are dipped? Do you know if they're strict on kosher? Do you know if they have 2 ovens? Do you know if they burn out the oven when they... Ask. Ask. Ultimately, your destiny, your olam haba, your zechut, your status as a person, who's it up to? It's up to you. It's not the rabbi's job. It's not the school's job. You are the OU. You have to be your own hashgacha. Oh, I thought that this is what people do. What do you mean people do? What do you do? What are you supposed to do? When we take ahayut like that for our own life and our own destiny, things change, into a very, very different way. I want to share with you an example that was brought, fascinating example with the Kaf HaHaim. It's a rabbi. His name was Rabbi Yaakov Haim Sofer. He's a grandson of the Kaf HaHaim. And he wrote a sefer called Kocho Shel Minhag, the power of a minhag. And he brings in his Hakdama, in the intro to that book, he brings a story from his grandfather, the Kaf HaHaim. 1 year after the Kaf HaHaim died, exactly 1 year later, it was a famine in the land. There was no food on the shelves. It was a terrible situation. So the son of the Kaf HaHaim, he went out to try and make a askara. Now, if you're Ashkenazi, you never heard the word askara. The same word as yortzai, okay? Askara means remembrance, right? Yortzai just means time of year. That's what yortzai means. Yor, which means year, tzait, which means time, okay? So at the time when it's a year, what do? You askara, you remember them. And you bring out fruits, vegetables, nuts, mizonot, drinks, and people make berachot, and they say, Li'ilui nishmat this person, and the beracha raises the neshama. Anyway, he goes out, there's no food, there's no vegetables, there's no fruit, there's no nuts. People barely have food to eat. Anyway, he feels terrible, so he doesn't make askara for his father. That night in his dream, the Kaf HaHaim comes to his son, and he says, Beni, my son, today is my askara. How come you didn't make a thing where you did berachot for me? What's going on? And the son said, Dad, I'm sorry. I went out and there was no food. There was no vegetables, there was no fruit, there's no nuts, there's no cookies, there's no cakes. This is a year, it's a famine. So he says, well, why didn't you gather everyone together and serve water? And then they could have made sha'akol niyad baro. First of all, I kind of feel, my first reaction is, some people, that's the kind of father they have. Like, the guy tries this, tries that, tries this, tries that. The father's like, well, why didn't you? In the Olam HaEmet though, all there is, in the world of truth, all there is truth. The Kaf HaChaim was not trying to gotcha his son. He was not trying to be like, oh, why didn't you do this for me? Why didn't you do that for me? His soul was craving the zechut of the extra berachot. And even if the berachot were only Shahakol Niyad Baro. You, my son, it's your job to elevate my soul. It's your job to bring me the zechut after I can no longer do so. Could you have got me at least a Shahakol Niyad Baro? My friends, I looked at this and I saw a very beautiful idea. To me, you know what that says? It says, first of all, for the people that we want to bring zechut for in the next world. When you can't do A, do B. You can't do B, do C. You can't do C, do D. Whatever it is that you could do, the neshama and shamayim craves it, even if it's only a shakol on a cup of water. Of course, only if you're thirsty. Okay? Second thing is sometimes a person is thinking that they're putting things in motion that will be there for them after they go. But ultimately, we have a better choice where we could do that for ourselves, where we could study for ourselves, where we could learn and we could grow for ourselves. We don't rely on anybody else to take responsibility for the decisions and for the growth that we could have engendered in our own life. Today is your sign, if you're listening to this online, today is your sign to actually open up your 401k for Olam Haba, to ensure that you have the beautiful zechuyot, that you're instilling this change and this growth in your own future, le'atid lavo. Be'ezat Hashem, we should be zocheh to have very long lives, but to use those very long lives in the most productive and beautiful ways. Baruch Hanai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen. We will be followed immediately by a Torah class with Rabbi Ruvain Ibrahimov. Kaddish.